And joining us here on the Granite City Video Network is a 1994 alum of Granite City Senior High School, Mr. Chad Wozniak. Chad, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you, Chad. My name is Chris Mitchell. I'm the new Director of Communications for the school district, and we're going to start featuring some of our alums that are doing good things out in the world here. And Chad is our first alum that will be featured this week. As Chad, you were recently named as a coach to the high school All-America soccer game. So we want to talk a little bit about that, a little bit about your past and how it's come to be. So first of all, Chad, tell us a little bit, where are you living these days and what's your role?
I am actually living in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been here pretty much since graduating from Granite in '94. Came down here and went to Bellarmine College, which is now Bellarmine University. Played soccer, met my wife there, and out of college did a couple different things, but have landed in education at Louisville Collegiate School here. It's a private / independent JK through 12 school here in Louisville. Taught here 5 years in first grade. Was the athletic director for a few years, and now I'm a full-time PE teacher. And I've been coaching their boys soccer team for 6 years as well. So life has been it's been fun, but I've kind of landed where I am, obviously, and it's been a fun journey. And I love teaching and coaching kids, and that's kind of what I was meant to do, I think.
Chad, let's talk a little bit about your season so far. You guys are 10-1, ranked first in the state of Kentucky and top 20 nationally. It sounds like you got having a good start to the season.
Yeah, it's been a great season. It's been a weird season as it's a shortened version. We usually play somewhere around 18 to 20 games a season. So only having, 11 games right now is not a bad thing. With a lot of these kids with COVID, they haven't played any games since, early March. And so they had about 7 or 8 months off.
Chad, I want to ask you about the recent news. You were named one of the coaches for the high school All-America game. That'll be on May 29th. 2021. It's going to be in St. Louis. So just talk about what was your thought when you found out that news and that it's in St. Louis.
I was very, very honored, actually. And I was more excited. I found out about a week before they invited me that 2 of my players are on the All-American watch list. And so I'm a little more excited about the players than for myself, because I think, these 2 kids that are on the watch list are very deserving. And I had no idea that I was going to be invited. So I was passing along the All-America watch list information to my players. And then the same guy that had contacted me, Eric Stratman, reached out and asked if I'd like to coach in it. And so I was pretty excited. Shared it with my wife and some family, and then the school got a hold of it, and then as you know, social media got a hold of it, and it's a neat, humbling thing. I'm honored for it, but at the same time, I'm more excited about the potential of having some of my kids on that list and in that game as well.
So you talked about you graduated from GCHS in '94, and you went on to Bellarmine down in Louisville. Chad, what did you study during your time at Bellarmine?
Yeah, I actually was a communications major with all hopes and dreams of becoming a sports broadcaster, buddy.
Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, sounds a little familiar. And so for a while I was at Bellarmine, I was announcing their men's and women's basketball games on some local radio and some local high schools. Got into it a little bit, did a little public address work for the University of Louisville for a brief stint, and still get to do that every once in a while here at our high school. But things took a turn when my wife went to med school. And so the job world came calling and had to kind of pivot a little bit and do some different things. So got into some sales jobs and things like that. And then I actually landed at an indoor soccer facility because I just always loved being around the game. And I was always coaching club soccer throughout the entire time. So wanted to be a little bit more involved in the game. So I was managing an indoor soccer facility when we had our first child. And then after that, actually, right before managing that facility, was playing a little bit in what's known as the old A-League, which is very similar to the USL, which we now have, kind of a semi-pro thing. I had a little short 6-month stint up in Cincinnati where I got to play a little bit of that, and it was a lot of fun. And then after that was working at a little bit of a fun job that is the Superstars, and I was their general manager, but also got to go around and perform at some pretty crazy places and some really neat experiences with a couple of local guys here in Louisville. It's a Louisville-owned company that's worldwide. I mean, they're all over the place, and they've unfortunately taken a big hit with COVID. Minor League Baseball is one of their big things, so they've taken a tough hit with all this. But did that for 5 years. Then just my wife kept kind of kicking me in the rear, saying that I'm meant to be around kids a little bit more. So I got into education, went back and got my degree in elementary education, actually. Like I said, I coached soccer from pretty much the time I arrived at Bellarmine until still doing that. And so coaching and teaching kids has always been something I've loved to do. So now I've been at Louisville Collegiate School here for 10 years now. So I've kind of fallen where I need to be and where I enjoy it. So been a journey.
Sounds like a great journey that you had. Chad, let's talk a little bit about your time during the 6 years at Louisville Collegiate School. 4-time Kentucky Coach of the Year. You had the National Player of the Year in 2016, and you've won, well, it looks like 5 Kentucky State titles. What's been the key to the success you've had as a coach there?
I think trust. Trust not only in the coaches and the staff, but in each other. We're a small school. Our high school only has 225, 230 kids, but it's a private independent school. Before I was coaching here, Brad Davies was the guy that was coaching, and he kind of started building the program a little bit. And when he was playing with it, it had one club soccer player, and he would build it, or kind of focus on that guy, and then you'd have a bunch of athletes. Well, then it kind of just, spiraled that this is a school that you can come and play at, So we actually have 2 freshmen that start this year, which for the level that we're playing is kind of unheard of in high school. But I'm a big believer in if you show up and you can play. I don't look at you as a freshman. I look at you as a soccer player and obviously a student athlete. But these kids, there's a couple really big schools in Louisville that are consistently, in the top 5. And unfortunately, these kids will go to those schools, or not unfortunately, they're very good schools. They'll go to these schools, but they struggle to get opportunities until they're juniors or seniors. One of the keys to our success has been, trusting these kids to come in and produce. We have a big senior class this year of 10 seniors, which in my time, I think is our largest senior class. And 6 of these seniors, when they were freshmen, were starting. And they wouldn't have been starting at a lot of other schools. So, one of the big things I say in our first preseason conditioning is you're not a freshman, you're not a senior, you're a soccer player, you're a student athlete. Show me what you can do and we'll give you opportunities. So for them, I know these 2 freshmen that are starting, this year had no idea that they were going to be starting, nor did I. But, during our preseason, it was pretty telling that they needed to be on the field, and they're playing big minutes for us now. I'm to refer to, you and I both love some college basketball. So to refer to the old Arkansas 40 minutes of hell, I love offense. I've always been an offensive minded soccer player and coach. We score a lot of goals. We play a very fun style. And I think a lot of kids really buy into it and want to be a part of it. And being a private independent school and myself coaching a lot in the club scene here in Louisville, and a couple of my other coaches are also big club soccer coaches here in Louisville. We're always talking up the school. We're always, we're always talking about collegiate, and kids are wanting to come here and come shadow. And a lot of it has to do with it's become a big time soccer school, which is a really cool thing to say I've been a part of. And that the culture here, they're very supportive of it.
You played under one of the best coaches of all time in high school soccer, Gene Baker. There's no question. I don't think anybody will argue with me about that. What did you learn during your time playing for Coach Baker that you're using these days in Louisville?
Be flexible. I tell every kid that I coach to be flexible to different positions and different situations in games. Coach Baker taught us that. I went from being a striker to a center midfielder to my senior season playing center back. So I tell kids a lot of times that you've got to be able to play multiple positions on the soccer field. You're not a striker. You're not a one-dimensional player. That is a big message that I tell kids, and seeing a lot of these kids that have gone on playing at collegiate, that have now gone on actually playing collegiately at high levels. Almost every single player, could say, okay, well, I'm a center midfielder in high school, but all of a sudden now I'm playing right back. So to be able to be multidimensional on the field is something that I learned from Coach Baker that I really do try to instill in these kids. We just unfortunately lost 3 kids last week to quarantine. So one was our starting center back. So we take a kid who's been playing striker and outside right mid, and now he's playing outside right back the other night and scores a goal and gets 2 assists from that position. So being flexible and being able to do those things is something, like I said, Coach Baker instilled in me, and that I've taken it to not only the high school kids that I coach, but I coach some club teams and little girls and everything. And telling them that when they're asked, where do you play? The answer should be wherever you want me or wherever you need me, coach. And to have those kids have that attitude is really a key to success for any program.
Chad, let's talk about off the pitch and away from the gym. Tell us a little about your family.
I've got the greatest family in the world, buddy. I met my wife, Tanya, at Bellarmine. She was 2 years younger than me, so my junior year. So my claim to fame is that I'm the first person she met at Bellarmine. So she came in as a freshman, and she was a soccer stud as well. And so we had physicals, and so we had to show up early for those, and a couple of weeks before school started. And so we were sitting in the gym over at Bellarmine, and she sat next to me, and just happened to be, caught my eye a little bit, and just happened to start talking about college basketball because she's from Lexington. So I start, giving her a little bit of trouble about being a UK fan, and she finds out I'm a North Carolina fan, and kind of the rest is history. So that's my claim to fame, is that I was the first person she met. But she's awesome. She was actually, until just a few years ago, was Bellarmine's leading scorer on the women's side, all time. So she's got a love of sports just like I do, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So met her there, and then we've got two children now, Samantha and Taylor. Samantha is now a freshman here at Collegiate. Taylor is a 7th grader here at Collegiate. So they've kind of been along this journey with me. They're both little soccer players. They both, love the game, I think, just as much as we do. I don't think they had much of a choice, but, Samantha has been a soccer player since she could walk. Taylor has been the journey. She's kind of gone the gauntlet of all sports, and she was a competitive gymnast for a few years and got to a pretty high level, but it just was a lot. And then all of a sudden she's, Dad, I want to play soccer again, because she started and it was just like music to my ears. So it's pretty fun. We're a very competitive house, who can get in the car first, who can brush her teeth first, things like that. But it's fun. We are a split house house divided as far as our college loyalties. My wife and my youngest daughter, Taylor, are kind of the UK fans. Samantha and myself are the North Carolina fans. However, Taylor's like myself. She's pretty stubborn, so she and I butt heads. So when she's mad at me, she'll say, go Cats. When she's mad at Tanya, she'll say, go Heels. You'll get a kick out of this. When she's mad at both, she'll say, go Duke. And that's where it's like, come on, now you're out in the doghouse. So
last question for you, Chad. I want to talk a little bit about your family corn TikToks, because I enjoyed seeing these on Facebook, and I'm not going to lie, you became a big hit on Facebook. How did this start?
A lot of family time during quarantine, right? So we were quarantined here, and it was probably the first week or two that everybody was kind of quarantined, and we went outside and played a little soccer golf in our backyard and did some things like that. And then social media took over. My girls, being a 7th grader and a 9th grader, they are all on the social media stuff. And so I got a hold of their TikToks, and we're kind of watching them a little bit. So then my wife actually created this account, and I took hold of it and changed it to my name, the Wozer NC, which she wasn't very happy, but I told her I was going to make it public because my daughters are private. You know, we didn't want a lot of them sharing a lot of their stuff, but so it was a competition. I told my daughters I was going to start getting more views than they did, which is a little bit unfair because I made mine public and theirs is private. But I don't even remember the first dance we did, but it started and it just kept going. And my wife said, "You're doing too many at one time. You're gonna lose interest." But it just went for a while, and then I started posting some of them on Facebook, like you said, and it was funny because like by 8 or 8:30 every night, I'd start getting Facebook messages like, "Hey, when's the TikTok coming?" And so we had to stay with it for a bit. But man, we had so much fun as a family doing those things, kind of until the girls started getting a little bit sick of it and their friends started asking them about it. It's pretty hilarious because I do still get, even here at school, teachers, kids, Mr. Wozniak, Coach Woz, hey, and we saw your TikToks. When are you gonna do another one? So, you know, we might have to jump back on the bandwagon a little bit. It's been a while. It's been a break because, you know, we started back at school and coaching and things, but oh, it was a lot of fun. You know, we got pretty silly and goofy with it, but it was really good family time. It really was. So
I'm not going to lie. When I saw the first one this summer, I went back and watched every single one of them, and that was awesome. And that's cool that you got to do that with your family.
yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Well, Chad Wozniak, just want to say thanks for coming on here for our Alumni Spotlight, and wish you, continued the best at Louisville Collegiate School and with your team and also with your career.
Chris, thanks so much for having me. Hopefully I'll get back into town sometime soon and we'll get together. And I'm really glad that you're doing this. They've got the perfect guy to kind of spread the news for what's been going on with some Granite alums. And congrats to you. And thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Chad.